calls of international solidarity in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic continue. A Russian donation of medical supplies is due to arrive in Venezuela tomorrow. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting health crisis in Ecuador, former President Rafael has been sentenced to 8 years in prison on corruption charges. The U.S. state of Wisconsin held its Democratic primary as scheduled on Tuesday, despite the coronavirus epidemic. Meanwhile, 50% of voters polled in the state of Florida said they disapprove of President Donald Trump's response to the coronavirus pandemic. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro stressed solidarity with the former president of Ecuador, Rafael following his recent sentencing to 8 years in prison.
All our solidarity with President Rafael in these circumstances experienced by the people of Ecuador, and particularly today in the midst of the pandemic when a sentence has been issued. It's a legal aberration to attempt to remove such an important leader from the political democratic game, a leader of the likes of or stature or moral strength of Rafael Correa. All of our solidarity from Bolivarian Venezuela. Onwards Rafael Correa. Onwards resistance with the people. The Ecuadorian people deserve a better destiny.
President Maduro also announced the landing of a plane carrying humanitarian aid from Russia, the Pan American Health Organization, and UNICEF to help Venezuela combat the COVID-19 virus.
I want to announce that tomorrow, Wednesday, April 8th, a special humanitarian assistance is arriving from the Pan American Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Russian Federation. So humanitarian aid from different sources will arrive. That is concrete, precise, and true humanitarian assistance, which will complement all of our efforts.
Certera, verdadera, que viene a apoyar todos los esfuerzos.
We will get medical equipment, personal protection gear, ventilators, rapid test kits. The Vice President will be there, as well as our Foreign Minister, to welcome the plane sent by the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization arriving from Russia tomorrow, Wednesday. That's the announcement that I wanted to make.
Y que llega de Rusia mañana miércoles, así lo anuncio.
Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez reported a new case of COVID-19 this Tuesday during a meeting of the Presidential Commission for the Control and Prevention of COVID-19, bringing the total to 166.
We have to inform the country that in the last 24 hours, a single case has been detected as a woman from Miranda State. If you allow me, the details are that this case was detected in the municipality of Baruta, Mr. President, and the patient was infected by her brother who lives with her. This brother knew that he has tested positive in the rapid test, and today she was detected in the early and personalized detection process that we are undertaking. The PCR test was applied and it was positive. This is an asymptomatic patient, aged 32, who lives in Santa Fe in Baruta Municipality, Miranda State. With this case, Mr. President, we now have 166 cases detected and confirmed in Venezuela.
China continues to provide international support to fight the coronavirus pandemic. A team of 12 Chinese medical experts arrived in Manila on Sunday to assist the Philippines' efforts in this regard.
It is a novel disease, it's new meaning, but it is China who has the ample experience in combating this, having seen Wuhan go through the hardships for the last few months and haven't seen the number of people who have been affected, and also the flattening of the curve or the plateau of those who are infected in China. So therefore, the best people to learn how to combat this would be the doctors from China.
Another shipment of Chinese medical supplies arrived in Accra, the capital of Ghana, on Monday and will be distributed to 17 other African countries within a few days. The Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Wang Shiting, said that China's current efforts show its commitment to its relations with Africa and further strengthen historic ties. Since the novel coronavirus arrived in Africa, China has overcome its own difficulties to actively assist the African Union and African countries with medical supplies and organise video conferences for medical experts to share their experiences. The urgently required shipment of vital supplies includes personal protective equipment, masks and protective suits.
Even though China is not yet out of the woods, it has undoubtedly amassed invaluable experience in the fight against this virus since its outbreak. And we are sure that Ghana, like many other African countries, can benefit from those experiences.
China's first donation of medical supplies for Cuba's fight against the COVID-19 virus arrived to the island this Tuesday. China's ambassador to Cuba, Chen Shi, and Cuban Deputy Minister of Health, Luis Fernando Navarro, officially received the supplies at the Ministry of Public Health in Havana. The Chinese donation includes face masks, infrared thermometers, and protective suits to fight the COVID-19 epidemic. 10,000 suits and the same number of masks were donated by Yongtong, a Chinese transport company with a significant presence in Cuba. Vietnam has donated 550,000 masks to 5 European countries to support their fight against the novel coronavirus. The masks were handed to the ambassadors of France, Germany, Italy, Spain and Britain in Hanoi, according to the Vietnamese Foreign Ministry. Vietnam has reported almost 250 COVID-19 cases, but no fatalities. The country has also donated masks and medical equipment to other nations, including China, Cambodia and Laos. Vietnam has asked its mask producers to step up their production in order to make 5 million masks a day. Residents of Wuhan took to the streets as the 11-week lockdown of the Chinese city was lifted, with no new COVID-19 cases reported there, according to the authorities. The occasion was marked with a light show on either side of the Yangtze River, with animated images of health workers aiding patients projected onto skyscrapers and bridges, along with one displaying the words "Heroic City." Along the embankments and bridges, residents cheered and chanted as they gathered to watch and film the light show. Wuhan was put on lockdown on January 23rd as the epidemic intensified, but with the situation now largely under control, authorities are set to restart outbound travel services from the capital of Hubei province on Wednesday. However, residents will only be allowed to travel outside of the city and Hubei province if they have a green health code, which indicates they are symptom-free. This Tuesday, China reported no new deaths due to the novel coronavirus over the past 24 hours and just 32 new cases, all involving people who returned to the country from overseas. Another 12 suspected COVID-19 cases, also all imported, were being kept under observation, along with an additional 30 asymptomatic cases.
Currently, the domestic epidemic has been sporadic in recent days, while the epidemic in Europe and America is still developing fast. The number of existing imported cases has surpassed the domestic existing number, which has brought pressure to the cities of entries in medical treatment, epidemic investigation, nucleic acid tests, and isolation facilities.
In Galicia, northern Spain, a businessman was arrested for the alleged theft of 2 million protective masks that he apparently sold in Portugal. The man reportedly met with some Portuguese citizens to whom he sold the medical supplies. Spain is the second country in the world with the highest number of deaths from COVID-19, at more than 13,000 cases to date. For the last 3 weeks, the availability of medical supplies for professionals and patients has been an urgent need in hospitals, as many of them are overwhelmed by the large numbers of coronavirus patients. Italy's Coronavirus Emergency Commissioner, Dominican Republic, has appealed to Italians not to lower their guard and to respect the lockdown, which is now in its 5th week.
In the next few days that lead up to Easter, don't ever forget, even for an instant, that this invisible, strong and unknown virus has taken 16,523 lives up until yesterday. I repeat, 16,523. 16,523. That is the reason why I beg you once again to not erase this number from your memory. 16,523.
perché torno a supplicarvi nelle prossime ore, nei prossimi giorni.
Be careful with the illusions and mirages. We are not a few steps from exiting the emergency. We are not close to that hypothetical X hour that will quickly bring us back to how things were before. Nothing could be more wrong than fantasizing about an imminent moment to free us all, where each one of us, from one day to the next, goes back to their old habits.
Che ci riporterà con un battito di ciglia alla situazione di prima.
More stories coming up after this short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Former President of Ecuador, Rafael has stressed that the recent ruling against him on corruption charges, sentencing him to 8 years in prison, is a move to prevent him from returning to politics in his home country.
Well, we expected it. I have 31 criminal proceedings opened against me. They are desperate to condemn me for something so I cannot register to stand in the upcoming elections. This is the objective. And look, in the midst of such a pandemic, such danger, such a catastrophe, Ecuador is the worst country in terms of handling the coronavirus crisis in the region. In Latin America, the dead lay unburied in the streets, gatherings are prohibited. They held this hearing going against their own orders to sentence me. And really, it is a case in which the rule of law would be impossible. There are no bribes. And worse, still is the idea that I have knowingly participated in anything illegal.
Correa also stressed that the sentence is a bid to distract attention from the Ecuadorian government's mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic.
Firstly, it is a smokescreen to try to conceal the distraught people from the disastrous management of the crisis. I would like to say it another way. I'm not a traditional politician. I do not care about the political future. If they were doing things well, I would be the first to applaud. We are talking about life. We are the country that objectively, the statistics show it, has handled the crisis worse, and they are leading us towards a disaster. We have already gone from a crisis to a catastrophe, to a complete disaster.
The Dominican Republic has now reported almost 2,000 cases of the novel coronavirus, while the Ministry of Health has denounced illegal sales of rapid tests to detect COVID-19. Our correspondent in the Dominican Republic, Daisy Toussaint, brings us the details.
Greetings to you in the studio and our viewers. On Tuesday, the Dominican Minister of Public Health denounced that several companies have covered up irregular sales of rapid tests to detect COVID-19. And that prices range from $45 to $800. The minister stated that this is illegal and that the Ministry of Public Health will not allow it. Any imported product requires official sanitary approval from the Directorate General of Drugs and Pharmaceuticals in order to be put into circulation. During the press conference held daily via video link, the Ministry of Public Health reported in its 19th update that up until April 6th, the Dominican Republic has reported 1,956 confirmed cases of COVID-19, of which 241 are isolated in hospitals, 36 have recovered, and 98 have died. Up until the last briefing, 55 cases of coronavirus were reported among health personnel. At least 4 inmates of the La Victoria State Penitentiary tested positive for the coronavirus, 2 of whom died due to the disease, and 21 inmates have respiratory symptoms. On March 20, Dominican President Danilo Medina decreed a curfew to slow the spread of the coronavirus within the national territory. However, in the 18 days of that measure, 29,284 people have been detained for failing to comply with the curfew. Meanwhile, in the neighboring country of Haiti, health authorities confirmed a new case of COVID-19 today, for a total of 25 cases and 1 fatality since the first case of the disease was reported on March 18. This is all the information we have so far. Back to you in the studio.
New York continues to be the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak in the United States, with more than 138,000 confirmed coronavirus cases, as State Governor Andrew Cuomo confirmed on Tuesday. The number of new hospital admissions in the state has almost doubled.
The bad news is 5,489 New Yorkers have lost their lives to this virus. That is up from 4758. That is the largest single-day increase. And we talk about numbers, but that's 731 people who we lost. Behind every one of those numbers is an individual, is a family, is a mother, is a father, is a sister, is a brother. So a lot of pain.
The Democratic primary in the U.S. state of Wisconsin went ahead as scheduled on Tuesday, despite the coronavirus epidemic. In the midst of the pandemic, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers issued an executive order on Monday to postpone the vote until June 9th and extend the deadline for absentee ballots until the fifth day immediately preceding the new in-person election date. The Wisconsin Supreme Court blocked the governor's executive order on the same day, which meant the primary went ahead as planned, representing a victory for the state's Republicans, who control the Wisconsin legislature. Governor Evers stressed that the decision meant thousands had to choose between exercising their right to vote and staying safe. This was the first in-person primary voting to take place during the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, a recent poll found that 79% of Florida voters said they were concerned about personally contracting the virus, while more than half said they disapprove of President Donald Trump's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The statewide poll, conducted from March 31st through April 4th, questioning over 3,000 registered voters, also found out that almost 60% do not trust Trump to offer reliable information on the crisis. Cuban health authorities reported 46 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, bringing the total number of positive cases to 396, while there have been 11 deaths. Meanwhile, Chile and Ecuador continue to be among the worst affected countries in the Latin American region. Chile has reported over 5,000 cases, while Ecuador has confirmed 3,700. Peru has reported over 2,500 cases and has seen 92 deaths, while the death toll in Mexico rose to 125, with over 2,400 confirmed cases. According to Johns Hopkins University, these countries are followed on the American continent by Panama and Argentina, with 2,100 cases and 1,628 cases respectively. Both Panama and Argentina have reported 55 fatalities. More stories coming up after this short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Syrian government has closed schools, colleges and universities in order to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. However, the Ministry of Education has decided to provide alternatives through social media and television programs. More in the following report.
Schools and universities close their doors until next April 16th, a period that could be extended to avoid the spread of the new coronavirus. That's why teachers keep working, but not in the traditional classroom. They're using social networks to reach their pupils. The goal is to prevent a bigger disruption in the students' lives.
Without any doubt, the decision to close the teaching centers as part of the preventive plan, it has been effective and has contributed to keep the cases of contagions in Syria at lower levels. The joint work of the educational and technical personnel has made possible 12 hours of live broadcasting or streaming every day. In spite of the moderate resources that we have, we continue supporting our students and teaching them.
The virtual educational platform and the Syrian educational television channel stream and broadcast classes throughout the day. With this alternative, little resources and limited logistics capabilities, teachers and students of all grades can continue the school course in a safe and interactive environment.
We communicate with students using social networks. We also teach live on the Syrian educational television channel. We are trying to continue the educational process in these circumstances. We are working for the students. Through the phone, the students raise their questions, and the teachers answer and explain the topic either on social media or television broadcasting. The lack of equipment is a challenge. We cannot import the technology we need due to the sanctions. That's why we need to repair the old equipment and keep using them.
The constant blackouts and the low speed of the internet are some of the obstacles that the virtual learning platform faces, consequences of the long war and the non-stop Western economic blockade, a reality that teachers and students, with the support of the government, face with patience and dedication. The terrorist war that has hit this country for more than 9 years did not stop the wheel of educating children and young students. If the war could not stop this noble purpose, the new coronavirus will not be able to do so. That's the spirit of the teachers and students that use technology to tackle the new challenge that this pandemic represents.
Iran has reported 133 COVID-19 deaths in the past 24 hours, bringing a total to over 3,800.
According to the definitive laboratory findings, and from yesterday to April 7, 2,089 new patients with COVID-19 have been identified, taking the number of patients with this disease to 62,589. Unfortunately, in the past 24 hours, 133 COVID-19 patients have lost their lives, and a total of 3,872 people have died in the country to date due to the disease.
The African continent has now confirmed more than 10,000 cases of the novel coronavirus. The figure was released by the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 52 of Africa's 54 countries have now reported the presence of the virus, with the island nation of Sao Tome and Principe the latest to confirm cases. Only the small kingdom of Lesotho and the island nation of the Comoros remain virus-free. South Africa has the most cases on the continent at more than 1,700. The shortage of testing capabilities across Africa has raised concerns that the real number of cases could be much higher. And to mark World Health Day today, we finished this news brief with a video dedicated to celebrating the work all healthcare workers do and reminding world leaders of the critical role they play in keeping the world healthy. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and you can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.